So last week was a bit of a struggle because I had this gnarly bug when I introduced the fading of the lines. So I found this out in retrospective. Let's look at this one. Git show. So there was the resetting of the piece at the end of the erase complete rows function, which slightly changed meaning since we're now not removing the lines directly but fading them out. So that was the mistake, but I don't want to get caught up on this. I would say one of the main reasons why it was hard for me to find this error on the air was the fact that this code is not well organized. It's all one big file, one big mess. So I want to make it today's mission to reorganize the source code a bit, refactor a bit, rearrange a bit. And so yeah, I haven't made any plans, so I let just my intuition guide me today. We have 750 lines of beautiful, beautiful code here. And yeah, something that I also started using just very recently is the language server protocol and the integration in Vim for that. So now you see those little symbols here, and I'm actually getting, I don't know, how do I see those? Yeah, so I now get these hints about unused like basically fixes I could or should do. Let's see here. We're missing the type annotation for this. And so the good thing is it's not only telling me what's wrong, it's also offering me to fix it. But I am not used to the keyboard bindings yet. So what I usually do is I just open my vim config .vimrc, and then I see here there's this COC. That's the plugin that I'm using. Let's look at this COC Vim. So that's one of the extensions I installed. So that's the piece in Vim that communicates with the language server protocol or with the language server itself, which, as far as I understand, is basically a separate process running in the background, and then it gives talks through this plugin to my Vim buffer eventually. And yeah, I dumped all this stuff into my Vim config, and now I have to figure out what I actually do with it. So I have my leader configured in Vim to be comma. So I don't know what was the action, something action. Applying code action in the selected region, leader A. So it should be like, let's see, go comma A. Ah yeah, now I can say, yeah, add invert annotation. Isn't that sweet? Should still compile, I guess. I hope compiled without errors. And I can do these things here as well, like comma A. Remove unused value, yes, here as well. Boom. This import is not used at all. So I can just say remove all reported unused code directly. So let's quit Vim to just see what happened there. See all the stuff, like that's super neat. I didn't have to clean it up myself. I just let the plugin do the work here. So let's add this right away. Commit removed unused code. So that's a good start to clean up the code, I would argue. Let's see what else. Piece definition, again, what does it tell us here? I mean, maybe we don't need to clean this up right away because we see there's also a different solution here. We can just unexpose the function, and that is the indication for me. The rules are like, if you expose a function, that meaning it's accessible to other modules that import this module, like then you have to give the signature for the function, which is also just common courtesy for the user to give him better understanding how this is supposed to be used. But for internal functions that are not exposed, I can just leave it like this basically, but that's not yet the case, at least. But I think I will be moving some of this into its own module, and so maybe we can get away without the type annotation. Cool, so I think here we have some constants. I'm just glancing now, skimming the code to get an idea what I want to extract into the first proper module. My hunch is that I want to extract the raw game logic, like decoupled from what keys are pressed and when the timer hits and how this is rendered, like leave separate all this from just the way that it's described, like how the pieces move. So that's probably the first thing that I want to extract. Like this, for the update function, that's something that's very tightly coupled to the architecture of the application and not so much to the game, for example. So I want to separate out these pure business logic aspects of the game into its own module. So yeah, maybe I start out with that. Here's another warning from nothing mapped to nothing. So it's telling me that there is basically a more dogmatic way to deal with this kind of situation. But yeah, I don't want to address all of those now right away. And it's, after all, it's not that many. Anyway, process fading, game details. So yeah, there's a fair amount of functions that basically operate on the game details. So I think I will just start out with a function, with a module game details, and move everything that has to do with game details only into that one. So let's do this. Open your new file, source game details.elm. It has to have the same name, game details. That's also something I like about Elm. It's very opinionated about this. The module name has to match location and name of the file. Not, for example, like in Ruby, countless times I've made a copy paste mistake, where I copied an existing class file to a new file, didn't change the class name, and then all the weirdest things can go wrong, because now you have this two of the same class loaded twice, and it depends on the loading order which file is actually used, and the error message, since it's not a wrong thing, it's not a mistake or an error that the Ruby runtime environment cares about. Like, it just exposes you to whatever behavior results from that, and this can lead to very long debugging sessions. So for now we are exposing, let's say we're just exposing everything, because that makes the transition a bit easier to keep it compiling, and then we can maybe narrow it down to only expose like the things of the functions of the game detail logic that the main application is supposed to interact with. Cool. So maybe we start slowly, just one. What's a good function? Or maybe we take over, let's move the piece definitions. I think that's a good one. It's a good starting point. Let's move those over here. And now we see already, again, like this, the language server is super fast, gives me directly here indication of what's wrong. No definition found for position, so we'll Move this one over as well. Or is it type position? No, it's an alias. And field color the same. Let's paste this one here as well. So now this module looks pretty happy, and now of course we're missing these definitions here in our main file. So let's see if it's smart enough to propose us to import the right thing. Let's apply import position from game detail. Isn't that all? Add all missing imports. Bam! I love this so much. I love this so much. So that's good. Compiled without errors. Let's see here. Refresh. Yes, it's still working. That's great. All right. So now we are still exporting piece definitions after all, I guess. Or do we? What functions drop current? No, I think maybe we end up not wanting to export piece definitions anyway. Yeah, let's do this. Let's say I'm not sure how it deals with this. Let's unexpose piece definitions. Yeah, it doesn't know because we're exposing the wildcard here. So yeah, well, we'll address this after we finished our migration of the game logic. So what else do we want to move over? Update row sounds something that is, and like I'm also, oops, where did I go? I'm also looking at those signatures. What are the data types that are in the game here, and are they really completely in our pure game logic, or do they interact with the model, which would be part of the application, or do they take any messages or commands? So since this is field color, position, rows, this all sounds like very game-centric stuff or pure stuff. I will move this over to our game details module. Now it's missing the row, so we're going to grab the row as well. I'm trying to, usually I will try to have all my data type definitions at the top of the file, just from a gut feeling, because that's kind of the central stuff. So now field is missing, opacity is missing, it's also here, grab that. Boom. What else? Oh, now, okay, let's save this one, and we can again let COC do the work here. Whoops. Add all missing imports. Is it compiling again? Boom. Compiled without errors. Wonderful. Cool. I mean, maybe, I don't know, game details. This all looks like it should really, like we really only want to keep the model in our application, I guess. So let's grab all of this. Just paste it here on top. And it doesn't mean that like the separation is the final one again. It's maybe I want to separate it down further, but for now, that's just a good start. So I'm going to grab all this board stuff here. No specific feelings about the order I'm pasting this in currently. Like, So the update function is obviously not part of our game logic, so that's going to stay here. Then we have game over or new piece. So that's a weird one because we have something with game details, but we return a model. So part of this refactoring might also involve splitting up functions and separating the application-specific part from the game-specific part. For now, I don't want to get into these details, so I'll just leave this function right here for now, but spawn piece is wonderful. From int and game details to game details. Nice, pure game details function. Going to paste this one here. Flip is a super generic function. Whoops, I didn't mean to delete this one. So this is, I would argue, it's neither game logic nor application logic. It's more like a helper function or something. So I might move this actually in a separate module. Move piece takes a key and produces game details, and key is also something that's not in the realm of our pure game logic, so I'll leave this here one for now as well. Occupied positions takes a current piece and returns a list of positions. Nice, pure function. Look up, also position board field, all just straightforward game logic stuff. Can drop, same thing. Just extend my selection to eventually grab everything. Increase tick, game details. And that's where I stop my selection because the next function has model and command, and that's clearly application level stuff. So let's grab this one. Oh, I just saw a question. Hey, I was wondering in the chat, hey, I was wondering why you choose Elm for this. That's a great question. And the answer is because I really enjoy programming Elm, and I saw the inspiration for this project was really this Clojure script clone of Elm, Clojure script Tetris from Sean LeBron, who did a very nice implementation. Or actually, I don't even know if he has. I haven't checked even if he has the whole implementation working somewhere. I guess so, but I just fell in love with the way he visualized this, and all the Tetris logic was already there in Clojure script. So I thought like, oh, I give this a shot in Elm, and it took me 1 or 2 evenings. Probably you cannot guess from the fact that I'm already on the 12th episode, but then again, I did way less talking when I coded it myself, and I thought like it's such a nice experience, so that I wanted to share that with more people and eventually get some more people to enjoy Elm as much as I do. Yeah. Thanks for that question. So let's get back to cleaning up. I believe I grabbed this stuff here, occupied positions. Did I paste this? Occupied. No, I did not. So let's quickly mark this again. Yeah, it was until here. So the last thing I cut was increase tick. So that's there. Do we have errors? Yes. Cannot find a range variable. So let's go here through from there. Probably a few more errors because of lacking imports. But again, now I'm very positive that look at that. Choose action. Yeah, choose action. Okay, it doesn't know which because there are so many maps. But yeah, I want to import from list. And I guess I can try to add all missing imports. Try to save this. Let's see. Score is missing. Where does score come from? Guess I have to grab another type definition. Type alias score. It's probably in the main and not in the yeah. So which line is it? 37. Boom. Yeah, I have to say add all missing imports in the main module as well, and it's working again. Boom. Cool. What else can we move over? We have the function game over on new piece has something with model flip. We said we wanted to stay here. Move piece. Move keys. A piece takes the key, so that's going to stay here for now. Drop current piece has a model and command and its return type. Progress fading is a pure function in terms of game logic. So I'm going to grab this one. Erase complete rows, same thing. And then we're already at the subscriptions, which are clearly part of our application logic, not so much of the game logic itself. Let's save all of this. More imports to fix, 293. Let's say add all missing imports right away. Is it happy with that? Fails. In game details 313 miss array and length. Where does length come from? From array. Yeah, I think we don't want array. Like, so here's the thing where it went wrong when I said add all imports. It like used the wrong, it chose the wrong module to import from, so I'm just going to guess the wrong import. I'm just going to fix this here. Progress fading, I cannot find progress fading in main, I guess. Yes, 202. Now we have to add all missing imports here. All the functions that were defined in main directly before now are defined in our modules, so we have to import those. And we can also, just to give you an idea, like, I mean, this is getting lengthy now, so it's probably a good idea to split this up. Oh no, I'm still used, like, I also like the style of breaking up lists. That's very typical for Haskell and ARM programs, and I like it a lot more than the trailing comma and, let's say, the usual JavaScript or Ruby as well. Oops, no. No. F comma, insert line break. So usually if the import, I mean, I could also just import everything from that module. But let's just stay explicit. Nice. What's up with position? Position is unused now, so we can just say remove all reported unused code. This is now unused because we moved all the functions that used these things that we previously just added to the imports. They all live inside the game details now, so we actually don't need to import them again. So how does our main function look? Okay, main function is 444 lines. That's already a good third shorter. That's a net improvement, I would say. Yeah, the functions, yeah. So now there's only stuff left in our functions that has model or key stuff directly. So I think I'll craft a new commit from this. And I can just add everything, I guess. Git add dot. Boom. Cool. CI get commit with a message. Move game logic into dedicated module. Boom. Cool. So that's a good start. Let's look at the main again. If we find something that I would like to move out in another new module. I don't know. I think probably the next step should be trying to break up these huge, well, I don't know how huge they are, but this looks like here, like for example, move piece looks like there's a lot of things going on, a lot of logic that I'm not sure should live here. I mean, it's logic around keys. Like it's kind of a key mapping, I would say. So that seems good in the application logic. But then there's also math happening, so it's a mix of mapping and also doing some logic. So this could probably be separated a bit better. If can move, yeah, then the current piece becomes the move piece. Otherwise, yeah, that looks all good. Drop current piece sounds very logic heavy to me again as well. There's stuff about the ticks. We know that only every 10th tick we want to move the piece. Wow. Yeah, there's definitely room for improvement. Then we have the subscriptions, the key decoder, more key stuff, and then we have view functions. Oh, and then we have logic again. Current piece, board. So I think this also should actually. Then we have view stuff, more view stuff, view. Then we have, yeah, field to, yeah, I would also say that's more a view aspect, more view stuff, empty field view. Okay, cool. Let's quickly bring up the game details again in a new tab and just move this one game logic function over there. Directly piece on place, piece on board. Grab this one, remove it from main. Just going to append it here on the at the end of the file. Boom. Probably have now to fix an import. 216 in main. That's the function we moved out. So we let language server apply, do its magic. It's compiling again. It's still working. That's great. Cool. Okay, where do we start? I will just quickly squash this. Change, git status, git add everything, and I hope I still have no edit. Yeah, so I will squash these changes into the previous commit with this commit command so that I don't get a new commit just for the last function. So if we look at git log, there's only one move game logic into dedicated module commit now, and we're on a clean working copy. Cool. Okay, back to separating out one of those mixed functions. Yeah. Let's see, game over or new piece. If can drop new piece on the board, then I'm spawning a new piece, and if I cannot place, then it's game over. So I would argue yeah, so these functions actually, I don't know, I mean that's pretty I mean, running game and game over, is that our model? I guess these are our top level model states. Where's our model defined? Oh, there's a shortcut. I have to look this up. I have to train this. To jump to the definition. That's something that I always missed when I worked with Vim. I mean, I mainly started working with Vim when I started to develop Ruby on Rails, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. And since Ruby is not compiled, there is no strict way to find the definition of a file. I mean, you have to load all the Ruby code into the runtime to be able to tell from where it's loaded. And yeah, with Elm, that's super deterministic, as I said. Like the files follow very strict structure on where they are, depending on how the name is, or the other way around, depends on how you want to look at it. So it's very straightforward to find the definition of a type. So definition, there's go to code GD, go to definition. So let's see, let's try this. What was I looking for? Running game GD. Boom, and it jumped directly to the definition. That's a dream come true. So yeah, so our it's part of our application logic to distinguish if the game is running or it's game over. So one could argue, of course, that's an inherent property of the game, but I think do I want to model this now? No. I think that's not the biggest concern here in terms of our messiness of our code. So I think I'll stick with the current definition for now. And in that sense, it's also okay to have game over or new piece, the function that decides when or if eventually to flip the state, to live here in the main. So let's stick with this move piece. Let's see how I feel about this. New position tiles. Game, if there's no current piece, then we're not doing anything. I feel a bit like what happens when in each of those cases or branches should not so much be defined by in the main, but rather in the logic. So what do we do with new position and new tiles? We move. We calculate the move piece, then we look up if it can be moved, and then so I think I'm just going to grab this, copy it over to the game details, and then extract the key part. I think that's something that I basically, I feel like this case statement will become a new function here in main and then get wired or delegated to the move piece function. So I'll open the game details in a new tab, jump to the end and just dump this here, move piece. So now we don't know key and we don't want to know key. So maybe actually we define a new data type for this that gives us these three cases, allows us to reason about over these three cases. Light red. So maybe we rename those to move left, move right, and the other one is really a rotate. So move left, move right, and what did I say? Rotate. And we make those variants of a new algebraic data type that we call what's this? Modification, a mutation, operation, a movement. Is a rotation? Yeah, let's call it movement. Movement. Move left. Move right. And rotate. Cool. And oh yeah, of course I have to change the type here to movement, and maybe also rename the argument into movement. Didn't pick up the whole word here, movement. And now in our case statement we switch over movement. So that should repair it for us locally. Does this compile? No, because we don't have the flip function here. Maybe we, for now, we just, do we copy it? Yes, I just copy it. I will remove it probably entirely from main, but still the move piece function is still present here as well. So just for the sake of keeping it compiling, or no, actually, let's do the right thing. Start a new module. Utils. It's a terrible name because it doesn't say anything, but I don't know what else will land in here, so let's stick with that for right now. Utils, exposing everything. Boom, dump the flip in here. Remove it from main. And flip is only present here. Save everything. Complaints about missing flip. Ask COC to import flip from utils. Same here. Boom. Save everything. Compiled without errors. So that's great. Now we just have to change our move piece function here. And now it can get a lot simpler. We say basically we have to transform our key into a movement. So let's say movement equals case key off. What do we have? Left arrow, move left. Oh, look at that. If we choose this proposal here from COC, then it will also auto import from module. Yeah, it's because we I can either do the fully qualified like this, or I love this so much, or do the auto imported version from the import that we already have in place. So yes, let's do this because it's less verbose. Right arrow. This might seem like cumbersome or unnecessary complicated, but it's really, I think it's a good investment to separate the keys from the game logic, because I don't know, maybe next time I want to do a WASD movement, and then I only have one place that I have to address this, or I can even offer multiple key mappings. Move right. Whoops, that's a bit too much. Missing T. And down arrow is rotate in, and now we only have to call the move piece function from the game details. Now we actually do have to fully qualify it, because it has the same name as a function that's defined in this module. So let's remove all this gunk here. Why is it complaining? No definition found for movement. Movement. Yeah, that's not right. So compiled without errors. Working great. Good refactoring. And actually, that's something maybe it's worth talking about because it's not used or even available in these in non-functional languages or in non-curried languages. Currying is this feature I rambled on a bit in one of the blog posts to one of the previous episodes already. It's basically the notion that all the functions, why we don't have parentheses around the parameters, like basically what we can do is we can it's unclear, deliberately unclear, if this is a function that takes one parameter and returns a function from game details to game details, or if it's a function that takes two parameters and returns one game details. Or more precisely, it can be used as either. And because that's the case, we can also remove this parameter from our parameter list, from our actual parameter list. So, and now this is of course complaining that game details is not known, or it's no definition found for game details. So the magic here at place is we can remove this as well. And now it will still compile and it will still work. So you might wonder, what is this magic, black magic? How does this work? But it's actually just consequent application of the currying, basically, because if we look at the definition of the move piece in game details, and just remember, it's a partial application, also something directly related to currying, the fact that we can only apply one argument to a function that eventually expects two. But if we only apply one argument, it will return a new function that still has expects the remaining arguments, so to speak. So in this case, we take move piece from the game details module. So let's look at this and keep in mind that we are passing in only the movement. So if we look at our function definition here, we have move piece, we take movement, and if we only put in the movement, then we are left with a function game details to game details. And so, which is exactly, if we go back to the main Elm, which is exactly what we want to return if we only put in the key. So this is something that I like. Functional programming aficionados really like to do, because concise is more concise. First rule of the tautology club is the first rule of the tautology club. So we have it. Technically, it does make zero difference if we specify the game details here and at the end of the function call or not. It's just like a bit more concise, and we leave away unnecessary stuff, so to speak. Like it's we're just passing through the game details, so we can just as well leave them out. All right, and it takes some time to get used to this, and I'm not even sure. I would say, well, I'm pretty sure. I would argue it's not always makes it always more readable or more maintainable. It's just a nifty trick, basically. All right, maybe let's see, what did I change so far? I put flip into its own module. Maybe I make this its own commit. So let's say we add the utils and we partially add the changes that we make to game details, well, we only, oh, that was exactly not what I wanted to do. So let's reset the game details again. Git add -p game details. So we want to import the flip, and that's basically the only thing I want to have in this commit, this hunk, like this partial change in a file is called a hunk in Git. So yes, let's add this hunk. Oh, I typed A, which adds all hunks in this file, which is not what I wanted. So I will reset again the game details. So that will remove the changes I had in the staging area where they are green before to become them unstaged again. So let's try this again. Git add -p game details and say yes to this hunk and no to all the other hunks, and do the same thing for the main. Git add -p source and main. I don't want this hunk. I do want this hunk, and I don't want any of the rest. So if we now look what's in the staging area with diff -- cached, then we see we have the 2 import statements to have access to the flip. Oh, actually, that's not true. I should also have the removing of the flip from the main should also be included in this commit to make a nice clean commit. So let's do another git add -p for the main. No. And I don't know, is the flip in here? Yes, so now we have one huge hunk that contains all those changes. So, but I don't want to stage all of this. I only want to stage the removal of the flip. So there's, I think, S splits the hunk in other hunks. S split the current hunk into smaller hunks. Yeah, okay, let's do this. Split. It's still too large because it contains the removal of the flip, but also the addition of the move piece. So let's split it further. It doesn't want us to split it any further. And now, like, I arrived a few times in this at my work, and I actually don't know what to do in this case. So I think oh no, actually I figured it out. I think you can just edit the hunk yourself. So I can just remove all of this. So let's say no, and revisit what I actually staged here. That looks good. Flip is red, being removed, and it's introduced in our utils module. Cool. Let's create a commit from that. Add lib or extract flip into utils module. Boom. That's good. What else do we have in our working tree here? We have the new movement and move piece, and so that's good. Yeah, let's create a commit from this as well. Nice small commits is what the colleagues love. Move piece separate, or extract is such a beautiful verb. Extract game logic from move piece. Move piece. And I didn't add anything, so that didn't do anything. Let's try this again. Let's look at our git log. Extract game logic from move piece. Extract flag. Nah, isn't that a pretty git history? Source main. What time is it? Yeah, nearly the hour is nearly full. Oh, looks like we still have some can do some cleaning up. So let's see, remove all reported unused code. What is this unused code? Okay. Looks good. Let's just create a nice commit for this as well. Git ci minus removed unused code. How many lines are we left? Oh, and we've removed another 100 lines since the last diff. It's only 350, so that's good. The view stuff. I think the view stuff, we could create a dedicated module for the view stuff of the board. Not sure it's worth it. Key stuff is small enough for that I wouldn't consider making a module for this. I mean, if I have the next game and I have to do this decoding thing again, it's probably a nice thing to have in a separate module, but maybe I take care of that when I need it. And here we have drop current piece. Yeah, that's also doozy. Yeah, that's one of the gnarly parts where I got caught up last time, because there's so much happening here. Increased tick, progress, fading. Like, I feel this should not be part of our application, like top level logic. So I think I'll do the same approach here. Grab a copy of this, open the game details again, dump this at the bottom, and I'm just going to try to get rid of all the model and command stuff here, because we are only returning running game. But we have one case where we need to generate a new piece, and this is where the command pattern comes into play, because we are depending on a random number, and to generate a random number we have to issue a command, because random is not a pure function, because it doesn't adhere to the mathematical definition of a function, because it returns a different value every time. So that's something. The actual generation of the commands should stay in the application, but maybe we can write a function that only returns an indication that a new piece has to be generated, and then we let the main application deal with this. Then we also have this aspect in here that I'm not really proud of, that we know our game ticks run so fast that we basically only every 10th tick we want to drop a piece, drop current piece. And what do we do in the else? Like, this is also, like, I'm a huge fan also of the term code smells, because if something looks ugly or feels cumbersome, that's most of the time it's the program trying to tell you that you can restructure it. Or like, if you're insecure, I like to blame it on the language, that it's hard or gnarly. But at least in Elm, I know I learned the not the hard way, actually. I learned the pleasant way, that this is really a way of the program trying to communicate with me, that I can reshape the logic, the way that I assemble these pieces, in a way that it's more pleasant to the readers. That's the way to look at it. So let's see what we can do here. Like, something that I see at a glance is, no matter which branch we look at here that assembles one of those tuples, it always gets something piped into running game. And that's because before I introduced this notion of running game and game over for the model type, it was the game details directly that were stored in the model. So, and I see here at a glance that all of those branches always return a running game. There's never a distinction that eventually returns a game over. So that means a function that we call that lives in game details can just always return game details, and we just pipe in the game details here. I mean, it looks kind of nice to do this chaining here of those things. That's not too bad, but I think it still should live, like what gets chained when should really live in the game details. So let's try to decipher those blocks. So what do we do? Like here's the else of, I don't know, I cannot jump to the if statement, but I know it's this one. So every 10 ticks, we execute this big block, and all the other 9 ticks, we do this one thing. So I would argue maybe we do I don't know which. Yeah, let's start to disassemble it here. Game details and the ticks, like even the ticks are part of the game details. So one could argue, okay, the notion of ticks and how fast they pass is something that's known to the game details. So I will just do this to make my life a little bit easier and say like it's a concern of the game details, so it's okay to keep it in here. And as I said, like game details should not know of model. So let's say this is game details that are returned, and instead of a command, we just return a boolean that gives an indication to us if we should issue the command to create a new piece. So we will just change this to bool, and of course everything falls apart now. So but also means we can remove. First thing is we can remove all the running game occurrences because A, it's not known, and B, it's not needed. Oops. So this should make the local world a bit better place. So command, and basically like we also know where we have to return true. It's the only case where we have to return true is where we regenerate this command. In all other cases, we can just return false. So let's do this here. This is the one case where I want to return true, I said. Here's another tuple constructed where I just say this is false. And here's another one. I'll change to space. False. And magically it's working. So that's good. It's compiling. We're just not using it yet. So I think here we don't need, like basically we can get rid of the whole body, but I want to keep it because I want to have somewhere to copy this command construction from. So we definitely will not need to deconstruct game details here. We will just call updated game details. We will construct this and needs new piece from drop current piece, but we want to have the drop current piece from game details, and we will call it with game details. And now we just have to construct our tuple with the running game for the updated game details and a command No. Okay, it really wants to uppercase this one. Let's change this. And command, we say if needs new piece, then else. I think that's pretty straightforward. Command none. And now I will jump down and grab this command generation from this block before. Replace my ... with this command. Bring back the else. And now we can get rid of all this stuff here. Let's see, it compiles and it seems to work as well. So that's pretty neat. Cool. Okay, it really wants these empty lines there. Drop current piece. I mean, there's still something to be said here about readability. So I probably have a second step at this cleanup endeavor at this one. And I see here's a little exclamation mark with one. So this means there's one warning from the language server. And I'm wondering what it is, but I don't know how to bring it up. So I'll open my vimrc again to look up the key bindings. Vimrc. Is there something like warnings or hints or no? I don't know. COC list diagnostic, commands outline. What does it do? Show commands, show all diagnostics. Is it that one? Space A. Space A. Colon. Control U. That's a lot of buttons. Ah, okay. Okay. Ah, yeah, the test suite. The test suite is completely broken now, I guess. I will fix this in a follow-up commit. So, but there was something. Go to next. Space J. Space J. Ooh. Ah, but those are all in the example, so no, I will close this. I think this was a good refactoring that deserves its own commit already. Let's just see what we have on record here. Yeah, drop current piece. Okay. Git commit -m move drop current piece or extract logic into game details. Boom. Cool. Now let's revisit this. Where was the it's in tests. Okay. Vim source. Vim test example. I mean, if the file name also deserves some attention, I guess. Remove all unused code. What's this? Remove all report unused code. And now these functions all live in the game details, so that's probably what it's compiling for. Add all missing imports. And now this is a bit weird because there was no previous import statement for game details. It added an import for each of the imported symbols. But wait for it. Boom! It automatically collapses them into one import statement when I save. So I have no clue if my tests still run. I already forgot how to call them in the first place. Test. Wow, that's simple enough. Test. Because I guess I updated my node version. Node minus v. Let's see. npm test. I guess it's a simple matter of a npm install. It's no test runner. No. npm e minus g. I'm not good with node. It's so confusing. Test. Let's see how that works. If that works, it's doing something. Well, looks good. But there are still some unresolved imports. What's up with row in 49? It's here. Why? I cannot find a row variant. Ooh, that's true. So the tests were not working anymore. I already broke them earlier with my refactoring of the row data type. So, but now I know exactly where to look. Well, it's a bit of a over exaggeration. Source game details. Do I want to repair my tests? Okay, this is not where I want it to be. Can I go to the definition? Yeah, but there is a variant row. Why is it not happy? I cannot find a row variant. There certainly is one. These names. 49. Why not? Is it row.row? Yes, it is row.row. Why? Okay, I know. Okay, that's also something worth explaining. So what's missing is these parentheses with a dot in between, because this row only imports the name of the type, where importing this dot also imports the constructor functions or the names of the variants of the specific type. So we imported the row type, but we didn't import the row variant, and that's why also this was a bit confusing, the messaging, because we have two different things that are named row, the type itself, but also one of the variants. So by now importing this, I mean, I guess I'm not sure why the autocomplete didn't solve this. 49. Okay. But yeah, that was the way to go. And like Elm is smart enough. These cannot used interchangeable. If I have to write row in one place, it's either the type or the variant. Like it's impossible to mess this up. It's very unambiguous what's expected here. Okay, erase completed row is not what. Okay, where does it come from? I guess also from our game details. Yes. It expects game details and returns game details. So what is going on here in line 45? Doesn't have a rows field. What does game details have? It has a board, I guess. Let's jump to the definition. board and has it rows. Okay. So I guess we want to have board. Erase completed rows. What is, oh, okay, board. Place piece on board is really just a board, I guess. Let's jump to the definition of place piece on board. Okay. Nice. Yes, that's only a board. That is correct. Ah, but it always jumps to the definition in the same buffer. Or not in the same buffer, in the same tab. That's a bit inconvenient. Okay. 45. 54 actually. Dyslexia kicking in. Erase completed rows. Do I want to fix those tests now? What? Erase complete rows. Erase complete rows. Game details. Because it also modifies the score. Yeah, makes sense, I guess. How do we get game details? Let's create some from scratch. Game details equals, I know if it has a board, so that's an easy one. But what else? Let's jump to the definition of game details. Board, current piece, score, tick. Board with, which one was it here? Let's just grab this from here. Let's typing. Current piece. We just say no current piece. Score is 0. And what was the fourth one? Tick is also 0. Game details. I fear there are more mistakes like this or more errors. Let's go to watch here. Board with tiles 95. Yeah, it's the same thing. I'm just going to grab this one. Board with tile to drop. So game details. Yeah. Dot board dot rows. And now board with a tile, again missing game details. 124 I said. And here's board with a tile. Board with a tile. They find, oh, I really love this plugin. Or this integration, I said, because it's not just a plugin. Game details, yes. Dot board dot rows. Boom. Okay. And it's broken. Why though? Because yeah, now these are fading rows. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Cool. That is actually, that's good. Like, where do we, let's start at the top. Do we get a line number? No, we just get the name. Drops rows above, multiply at rows. So here we make an empty pod, we have a drop piece already, make row. And what are the expected? Yeah, here we have a fading row now here instead. The empty row, right? Drops rows above multiple cleared rows. I think I will just remember, because this is not testing the same scenario anymore. We have a full row and this transitions into a fading row first before. Yeah, what do I want to test? Because it doesn't test really that the pieces drop out of a re-erased. It's just not happening, or not at this time. So I think I will for now, I mean, my test suite was never complete in the first place, so I'm not feeling too bad for removing a test here. So this is one, and then we have another one. It's basically all the erase complete rows functions, I guess. Cannot drop if tile. Cannot drop piece. Oh no, there are some. Oh, there are actually quite a few one. Okay. Then only let's remove. I'll remove only the ones that fail for now. It's this one. And erase full rows on bottom. I mean, this one we can actually replace with the fading one. So the first row, where does it start? Fading row here. Let's add some space. Boom. Okay, that's good. Cool. Let's make this into a commit. Yeah, that's okay. Git CI fix tests worst commit message ever. For them, in the end, it's just a pet project. So let's add the changes. Stage the changes first. Boom. Cool. I think that concludes my session for today. I do a wrap up in a blog post for this one and the last episode, since I haven't written down anything on the episode where I introduced fading for the vanishing rows. But yeah, maybe I'll drop some links on how to install the COC and all the language support in Vim. I think I'll eventually make a separate stream episode just how to get fully started with Elm and Vim locally. Obviously opinionated. If you want to use VS Code, there's just as good support for Elm available in that as well, because under the hood it also just uses the language server. So yeah, thanks for staying with me again for another episode, and see you soon.